That's usually how those accidents would happen.
These guys that actually use it and what they make with these things,
I mean, it seems crazy to us now, but they would.
you almost have a personal relationship. It's just one tiny little piece of wood that you're gonna.
And when I explain this to people over the phone, they're like, I never thought of that.
What I see a lot of people doing on YouTube a lot.
The biggest thing I see is going.
I got a group of dealers that I'm training is supposed to be the professional on.
They were standing down in a hole of sawdust.
It's perfect for a floor.
Yeah, there's a lot of wood industry that was actually born in upstate New York.
Almost 99.9% of the time, one of three things.
Some trees were probably blown down before the dinosaurs died.
You can get that stuff on the blade, built up, so thick.
Trees where people spent thousands just on blades.
That's the way the engine's actually designed to run
Absolutely.
these days.
When you're in the woods, people don't look at it like that, but it's a true statement.
I'm Mike Spadaro. Welcome to, what are we going to call this, John?
Well, I'm not sure. We're going to call it Chopped Up Hudson or Hudson's Chopping Wood.
Chop it up with Hudson, Hudson
Yes.
Wood Talk.
Hudson Mill Talk.
Yeah, we got to figure out a name. But anyway, we want to meet on a probably a monthly maybe basis, talk about what's going on at Hudson, talk about what our customers are doing, get some stories, hear what they got to say,
Sure.
some probably pointers. I mean, you got a couple hours behind you, I heard.
A couple.
Mill
I've had a few
before.
hours here at Hudson too,
Right.
just like you have.
Yeah, so I'm Mike Spadaro. I'm the general manager at Hudson Forest Equipment. Been there 20 years now. Yeah, I guess I made a career out of cutting
Didn't
wood
even-
and working at
Didn't
Hudson.
even know it, did you?
No,
You ever would have thought of that when you were in high
Right.
school?
who would have
You'd be
thought
selling
of it?
sawmills
Right,
the rest
I
of your
know.
life and working
Yeah,
with
I just wanted a
a major
snowmobile.
sawmill company.
Yep. I just wanted a snowmobile.
I got a little story to go behind that. But anyways, I'll introduce myself. I'm John Faber. I work for Hudson Forest Equipment. I've been with them for about 18 years now, I think, right, Mike?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You were probably on the team that hired me, but anyways, Dan Senior was the pusher on that, I know, and Dan Hud himself. So I come there with a couple ideas. That's how I actually got hired at Hudson. Was I was looking for a machine that wasn't on the market. I had the ideas, and I asked Hudson if they would build it for me, and they said no, but you can come here and R&D it, and we'll check it out.
Yep.
So that's how the
Remember
door
that.
opened for me, and it's been a great experience, I got to say. I've met a lot of good people, worked with a lot of great people, and still am. And I really like my job. So anything you like to do in life, you're not going to regret doing it, and it's going to be an encouragement for you and people around you because you do like it. And one of the biggest takeaways is if you like something you do, it's not work. It is work, and it does get stressful at times, but that's part of the game with anything you do in life. So I really enjoy working for Hudson. And my job there now is I actually started as a welder, but my job now is doing quality control inspections. I work a lot with R&D, improvements on sawmills, firewood processors, the winches. I've worked in the woods my whole life, so I've got a lot of experience, and that plays into this very much. And I think that goes a long ways. I don't know what you think, Mike, but
Oh, I was gonna not cut you off, but you triggered something when you were talking, but it's the people.
the people.
The people that you meet that are all, in the woods, good, honest people who like working hard, working with their hands, using equipment to get jobs done, making their life easier, saving money. It's the people I've met, the places I've got to see, things I never thought I'd even be able to do. I think it was maybe the first or second year. It was me and a couple of my best friends, actually. We were all in sales at that time, and we ended up putting together this crazy road trip just to promoting the brand. And we drove from New York, because we're based out in New York. That's our hometown. That's where I'm from. Been here my whole life. Lived on Barnaville Hill and always looked at Star Hill and said I want to live on that hill. And by gosh, somehow I ended up doing that. So I get more snow. I like it. But anyway, going on with what I was saying, we made this crazy trip. We get in a truck and we're driving. We got
Did you know
shows
where you
we're
were going?
stopping. Oh no, we made a plan. It was a whole
Okay.
roundabout trip, and we had lots of things. We were going to California and back. Yep. The main goal was to get to the World Ag Expo, do a showing out there, and obviously make it back in one piece. We had our FL60 Freightliner loaded right up. We had a Farm Boss in tow, which is a great mill that we still have. It's one of our original ones. And we took off. I think we made it out to Iowa on the first night. I still got jokes of them picking on me for eating liver and onions at 2 a.m. at a truck stop diner, but man, it was good. I didn't mind. I had some bad side effects afterward, but that's beside the point. Yep, got out. I think the next day we made it out to, I think it was Laramie or Cheyenne. I forget which one's first. I want to say Cheyenne's first, and then we had a hotel there. We slept in the truck the night before, and then we went out that morning from the hotel. Made it to Laramie. The truck broke down. Fuel pump kicked. Made a phone call. We had to get towed back to the Cummins dealer that was back in Cheyenne. So, and we ended up staying in the exact same hotel room because the 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 truck the repair for Cummins was right across the road from where we stayed the night before.
Perfect.
Yeah, not really perfect, but
No, but
lost the day. So then me and Dave, my buddy Dave, we ended up getting a rental. So we had a little Toyota Tacoma hitched onto that farm box. We had before the Ag Expo, we had a logging conference in Sacramento. So we rented the Tundra, put the farm bus on the back, loaded whatever we could in the back of that thing, and made it to that show. For our other guy, Tom, he stood back with the truck, getting that repaired so he could meet us
same
out
Tom
later.
that we're working with now.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, he
Cool.
worked there then. I think he was gone for 15 years, and now
Yeah.
he's back or something like
Yeah, he left just before I started.
that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, he started his own thing. He was selling Hud-son. Yep.
Yeah.
He had a tractor repair company.
Yeah.
And he was selling Hud-son. Actually, it's great having him back on the sales team,
Yeah, I actually
working with
had
our
to
dealers.
make some calls to Tom when he had the tractor shop for the tractor,
Yeah.
the Jinmas we used to sell.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, those
Old
were
Jim on tractors.
quite a little tractor, but
Yeah.
buy it in a box
Pretty
and put
neat.
it together.
So, right. So,
So-
yeah, it's crazy how our stories bring us here, and what we end up deciding to do with our lives. But getting back to the people that you meet, I mean, they're just so many different faces, so many different customers, and you get relationships with these people. I mean, you do because you do a lot of tech service with them too.
Absolutely.
And then it actually gets a little bit harder because now you got years of people that you've met.
Absolutely. For
There's
years.
tens of thousands of machines out there, from sawmills to firewood processors, conveyors.
Witches.
And the people remember you. It's amazing. They'll send you an email you sent like 5 years ago and be like, "Oh, hey, just checking in. I need a belt for my mill." I'm like, "Okay, great." But times that out by 10,000 people, it gets a little overwhelming. But
I
it's
took
awesome.
a few calls this week. The guy said, "Yeah, I talked to you about 5 years ago on the phone. You were helping me out with my
Yep.
sawmill, and
Yep.
here we are again." He says, "Do you remember me?" I said, "I vaguely remember the conversation, but I
Yep.
do remember you
Yep.
because
Yeah.
those little instances always will burn a mark in your
Right.
head."
That's why I said when people ask me the same thing. "Oh, you remember talking to me?" I'm like, "You keep talking. I'll probably catch on." Sure enough, you do.
Absolutely.
Yep, you keep talking, and I'll probably. "Oh yeah, you were at the. Yep, you were up in New Hampshire.
You were at the Woodsman show. I remember talking to you
Yep,
there.
exactly. So it's pretty neat how that works out.
Yeah. You go to these shows and you meet people from all over the world as well that are coming to look at our equipment.
Right.
And they're there to look at your equipment because they want to buy it because they know it's good. We'll put it that way.
Yep.
And my honest opinion is I wouldn't work for Hudson if I didn't believe in it. So that's a true statement. I own many pieces of Hudson equipment. Michael vouched for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always looking for another one to buy. And I don't even know why because
Thanks for keeping us so busy.
I know I'm getting to that age where I got to start getting rid of stuff, but I want to keep buying it and using it because I just like to work in the woods and I love to work. So
Right.
it's one of those love-hate relationships, but keeps me going. And it keeps me young looking too, I think. I don't have much time for a haircut. Everybody busting on me about my ponytail, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
I had short hair in the military for 22 years. I think it's paid off enough.
You had it. You cut it a few years back though.
I did. I had it short for
Yep,
several years.
you did. I think you donated your hair.
I did. I
Yeah.
donated it 3
Locks
times.
for love or something like
Love,
that.
yeah, locks
Yep.
for love. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, you donated it.
Yeah. I kind of
Not that we ever picked on you, and then you grew it back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's like trees; they just keep growing. Renewable
That's right.
resource.
Cut her down and she'll grow another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, maybe to get this going with some people that are like, okay, well, what do they do? What do we, the sawmills, that's probably our main line. Then you got the firewood
Absolutely.
processors, probably our second line. Uniforce skidding winches, and they have firewood processors too that are,
Right.
are pretty awesome with that circle blade. And you're definitely a circle blade.
I'm the guy that brought the
Yeah.
circle blade to Hudson.
Yep, you're
Put it
the wood
bluntly.
wizard. You got an old Ireland mill, don't
Yeah, I
you?
still run an Ireland number 8 sawmill.
Yeah.
Run that with a 100-horse Detroit motor. It's all old school. I bought it from my grandfather. It was built in 1889,
Hmm.
and it still runs like the day it was brand new because I keep it up. Some of
Right.
the parts now I can't buy them anymore because the Ireland factory burnt, and they lost all their tooling and machinery. So now I have to make a lot of my own, fabricate my own parts if I
Yep.
break something.
That is something nice with having a fabrication shop. When we're building equipment. Actually, we got that new homesteader mills coming out
Yeah,
that we were kind of tasked with increasing competition from overseas and Chinese and low price and you know and we stuck with making a structurally built mill. So it's not where you got like a piece of steel that's pushed out and
stamped
tin
and
that's
bent
stamped
and
and bent. It's
tweaked.
it's a 1x1, it's a 2x2, it's a
Structural
solid
steel.
structural steel. But it costs more money to build that way. It's sturdier, costs more money. But with the new technology, we're tasked with the idea of coming up with something that's a good Hudson quality, strong, durable mill, but it had to be a good price too. But with the new technology, the new computers and stuff like that, we're able to uh, make what would you call it? The plased out part that kind of holds the mill together, makes it
The
durable,
structural frame,
structural frame, and even cut out some costs without sacrificing the
quality,
quality and the
or the
structure of it.
durability of the
Yeah.
machine.
So I did have a chance to cut with that new HFE 28 the other day, and that thing was a
Solid little
beast. It
machine.
didn't even flinch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's great about Hudson Mills. They're solidly built.
All right. You
Um,
were did you cut with the hash log with that, or did you do that with the H360?
we
I know
cut the
you're
ash with the H360.
okay.
Yeah,
Yep, that's good.
making conveyor slats.
All right. Well, we still got ash left. It's
We
all
got tons of ash
yeah,
left. Yeah,
yeah. Well, that's all everybody's cutting right now because of the beetles.
yeah. The beetle kill has really killed that wood. Shame, but that's part of
Right. That's part
the
of it.
industry. It's like the elm when I was a kid. There was elm trees 4 feet on the stump everywhere as you looked in a hedgerow. Now you can't find one.
Right.
You find one that's a foot in diameter, you found a gold mine, really.
Hmm. I heard they're going to start making the baseball bats out of the beech tree instead of the ash trees.
Yeah,
So,
use up the beach.
plan. Yep.
Yeah,
So I have to go down to been to Louisville Slugger plant.
yeah.
That's all part of working at Hudson and doing a trade show out there.
Rawlings is just down the road here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of wood industry that was actually born in upstate New York that a lot of people don't even know about.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the mills used to run off these little streams. They'd put in a dam and build a pond and put in a little sawmill and water wheel, and they were in business.
Right.
And it was all free power
Yeah.
back then. You didn't have to pay the government.
We were just talking about this on the drive over
We
here.
were looking at all these little
Yep, seeing
creeks
all these
coming
little
over.
streams and creeks. It's like everybody's short for power. I
Start
put a little
building
unit
dams.
on that. You can power a bunch of houses.
Guy had a little stream. They used to put a lot of tanneries, and there was a lot of tanneries around up here in this area. A lot of people don't even know it.
All right.
They see just a little 2 foot dam, and they're like, "What would they use that for?" Well, that was just to back the creek up so that they could hold water to tan the hides in it.
All right.
And then they used to sell the guys that go in the woods and peel them hemlock trees, leave the wood, and take the bark. I mean, it seems crazy to us now, but they would cut down huge hemlocks. The trees were so big they couldn't get them out, but they needed the bark for tanning the hides.
Hmm.
So the logs would rot in the woods, and the bark would come out of the woods and be used. And it's kind of reversed, but that was the way it was done back in the day. That's a lost knowledge. A lot of people don't know about it.
All right.
And there was hundreds of tanneries in this area. In a 100-mile radius, you probably had 300 tanneries.
All right. Well,
There was
I'm-
7 just up on my road where I live in Boonville, on
Yeah.
the little creeks. And I only know that from the history of my family being there over 100 years.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I wouldn't know that. And that's just passed down knowledge from family history of living there.
Yeah,
in the
that is
area.
nice. That's stuff that they don't necessarily teach.
And
Passed
they'll
down
never
knowledge
teach
is-
that in Adirondack High. Are you kidding me? Probably anywhere else. You would never
Yeah.
find that unless you do the history or talk to somebody as old as I am and know about it. And all this old knowledge is being
Don't go dating
being-
yourself.
sunk under the water, typically, I say. But the old knowledge is some of the best knowledge you can have. But that's what's great about Hudson Mills too, is we're keeping that old technology. We're keeping it simple so that the common man can work on that piece of equipment as well.
I can definitely attest to that. We do try to keep things simple.
We don't want a
But,
big complicated
Johnny,
machine.
I'm not going to get into ages here, but I do like
I know you're
do
my
like
tech guy.
computer stuff and things like that. Like, I think that SetWorks box that we have now
It's the
is,
cat's meow. I love it
it
too.
is awesome. Like,
I want one for my Ireland.
all right. See, there is some good things with modern stuff too. So it's a
It
nice
is.
balance of both. But
we're
yeah,
doing a great
that
job
set
at it,
works
I
is
think.
just amazing. You never look at the scale again.
Yeah.
Tell the thing what you want to do, and it just does it. And it's.
Yeah.
I remember when you threw a curveball at me at Brian's place. We're doing dealer training.
Yep.
We're doing dealer training out in Colorado, and I was cutting. Was I cutting inch? I was doing 2x2 steaks because we are gonna use the steak
Yes, we were
pointer,
doing 2x2s.
right? So I was cutting a exact 2x2, and you're like, no, 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 Mike.
It's gotta be inch and 15/16.
Yeah. I'm like, what? So in the middle of cutting, you're changing the dimensions on me. I got a group of dealers that I'm training and supposed to be the professional on, and you change it. And I just went to that SetWorks thing, put it right in there, and what was it?
Perfect. The
Perfect.
steaks went through that pointer like
Yep.
a breeze.
Never even skipped a beat.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, that's great. You know, things like that work. But
Yeah.
I didn't want to have cut that good log in the steaks and then not be able to use them just because they were fighting, struggling to get them through the pointer.
Yep. So
But,
yeah, that was good.
but the
Yep.
thing about
Sawmill
Hudson,
in it. What were we at? Like 8,000 feet or something like that? I think
Yeah.
Brian's place,
Yeah.
9,000 feet.
yeah, it was kind of hard.
Yeah.
It was kind of winded up there when we
I
were
know.
talking for a long time.
You go to the Mile High City. It's our highest peak here in New York. It's like, what? That's just different.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good time out there in Colorado.
Yeah,
doing
it
the dealer
was.
training.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, when you're up in them high elevations with the small engines, you lose a little horsepower. So
All right. That's why they got
that's why we have a lot of variance in horsepower on our mills as well. So
right.
you need,
Yeah, the technology's helping that too. Those
It
little
is with the
EFI motors.
EFIs.
That's
It
all we
kills
send
it.
out there is the EFI. It's just
Yeah.
got it.
that just takes that right out of the
Yeah.
equation,
I know.
which the dealers out there love because they're all high elevations. So
Right.
why wouldn't you like that?
Yeah, I'll still have to get my truck out there. Brian's got the same truck, but he's got that twin turbo V6 in there.
Yeah.
I got the V8, so I'm thinking, I got the more horsepower. We goes, oh, you need the turbos out here. We'll see.
You ain't had it out there yet, have you?
No, I'm
I-
not, I'm not
come
gonna take
on.
it out there.
Go on a road trip with me, Mike. You know I
Yeah.
like to drive.
I'll fly. You fly. I'll meet you on the other side. Or you drive. I'll fly. I'll meet you on the other side.
Yeah,
Yep.
not a
Well,
problem.
I don't know. You got to
We were
drive a lot
talking
of
about that
places
the other
too.
day with them Costa Rica mills. Remember when we sent all the mills to Costa Rica?
Right. Tons of
And they had
mills.
to be
And the
rejetted
winches.
because they were so high up in the mountains cutting the wood. The mills weren't running properly, so they called us back and they had to be rejetted. I worked with Ray on that.
Yeah, we did something.
The carbs had to be rejetted.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Pretty
We
neat.
had to get a hold of Briggs and Stratton and all that, and the right horsepower. That was that old 28, wasn't it? We sent over there. I was still up in the shop.
It was a bit
welding.
ago. Yeah. I used to keep a tally when I was in sales. I because it was so neat selling outside of the country. I mean,
Yeah.
Canada was one thing, but when you're selling to Costa Rica, I can't believe all the stuff we sold to Africa.
I know. A
You
lot
know,
of stuff went over there.
And that was pretty neat because like basically you felt like you're humanitarian because you're basically selling a sawmill or helping them with a sawmill at a church, and you got a whole village that you just provided for
It's
with
counting on
one sawmill.
that. Yeah.
Simple manual, push your own, cut your own lumber sawmill.
Yeah.
Yep, that's pretty neat.
So yeah, that's where the homesteading all comes in. Is one sawmill can support a lot of people.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if everybody's got land in one sawmill, everybody pitches in. You can build your whole community.
Right.
Not just one family
Right.
home.
This
but build
was
several.
cut off a Hud-son
Yeah,
sawmill.
here's Hudson Woods.
Yep. Did a nice job putting up that shiplap.
Yeah. So
So, have you ever found yourself almost wondering if you could, because you've done it so long, play again what you just said, because you get asked the same questions constantly.
many times I get asked the same questions.
So I'm curious. I'm not going to write it down, but I won't lie. What's the most common question you got with sawmill? We'll talk about sawmills first.
Sawmills is usually my mill is cutting rough, and I don't know why. I just put a brand new blade on, and it's still cutting rough. That's
All
I
right,
get
that's
that
close.
one a lot.
It's right about the same way. And mine was I'm cutting. I got a wave in my board.
Right, waving, rough
Yeah.
cutting.
Right.
And they said, well, if it's cutting true, you shouldn't be getting a wave, and you shouldn't be getting rough cuts. There's something wrong. A lot of people think there's something wrong with the mill. They don't understand the differences in different woods, different speeds of the blade, different cutting techniques for wood.
You told me about the tension in a
The
log.
tension is a huge thing. I mean, a lot of people, I've talked to these guys lately cutting a lot of popple, especially down
this
south.
winter and frozen stuff.
Yeah. And popple is one of the worst ones that I hate to cut especially on my circle mill. I don't know why, but there just seems so much tension in popple wood. And I've even had that Detroit engine stall, just like I put a disc brake on that blade because of the tension in the wood. It'll start peeling apart at the end when you first start in. Get halfway through and it starts pinching close, and then I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Get through the cut fast before she starts pinching because it's you got a 52-inch blade and you got 10 inches of wood on each side of that blade. That's a big disc brake. It'll stall that in Detroit. I've done it. They don't back it off. So
Hmm.
there is a lot of tension in wood. So the best way to saw a popple,
I like popple wood. I mean, yeah, it's a
it's
pain.
great
It's
wood.
pain.
It's
I
lightweight.
got it on the floor of my shed,
Yeah,
and I park my Sawmills in there, and I got the carbides and the studs. I mean, it's perfect for a floor.
it wears good.
Yep, wears good.
Absolutely.
It's strong.
But the secret
Doesn't
to
rot.
sawing it is to open up all four sides first. Don't try and get that first board. Cut off your slab or take one board off and then flip the log, get your other side. Get all four sides of that log open because the tension is always in that first 2 inches normally of that popple tree. Once you get past that, you'll see the wood relax. And even on the mill, we're sawing with the H360 and that log pulled up like 2 inches on the end and it was dogged. It was pulling right up against the dog, slipping it. I mean, ripping
Yeah.
the wood out because that tree's going to go where it wants to. It's one of those things in nature.
Right.
It's got force
Oh,
behind
but
it.
that makes some beautiful grain too. When you got a wind whipped twisted tree. I mean,
Yeah,
that makes some beautiful looking
the
wood.
big old crotches and them big
Mhm.
yard trees that get taken down. You got an Oscar 52. Those are beautiful tabletops. I
Yeah.
saw them up all the time.
I wish I was better at that. I'm always amazed. Again, going back to the customers. Um, sure, I know the equipment. I know what it can do. I know what it's capable of. Then these guys that actually use it and what they make with these things
They
and what they
see that.
see out of a tree, it's
Yeah.
like, wow.
You see that old junky piece of wood over there, and you're like, I want that. And I'm the crazy guy. You know me. That goes all over the country and looks for that kind of wood. What
Yeah.
is wrong with me?
Oh, well, there's a lot to be
People
said.
think there is, but I love it. It's one of the things I do. I don't
Yeah.
take vacations.
Well,
My
you brought
vacation
that. You
is
got
going
that
on
those swamp.
sawmill
Yeah,
adventures.
yeah. You were on vacation with the Shelby Stanga, who's
Yeah,
got her 52, and you brought back that swamp wood. That stuff's amazing.
yeah, the
What
cypress.
what a story on that. Like how old is that tree?
Oh, it's thousands of years old. I mean, the grain of the wood is so fine, you have to count it with a needle and a magnifying glass because them trees were probably blown down before the dinosaurs died. And they're sunk in the mud 12, 15 feet under
Mm,
that lake. So
doesn't rot. It's
and it's
amazing.
preserved perfectly, but it's amazing, and it comes out, and you can tell by the age of the wood that when you saw it, the sawdust comes out green, and then it turns orange on the ground as
I
you're
did see
watching it
that. You showed me that.
because of the oxygen hitting that new wood. It
Yep,
changes color.
that's amazing.
So when you take your first slab off, it may be the color of this table, and you give it 10 minutes, and it's going to turn browner. But there's
Yep.
different types of cypress. There's chocolate. There's blonde. There's all kinds. But that's the thing I do is I go all over the country and look for these odd pieces of wood,
Kind
bring
of like
them all the way
yourself.
back to New York, saw them up. Still got many pieces in my wood shop that I admire, and do I want to sell that? No, I'm going to keep it. I should sell it, but
Mm.
it was just
But
the adventure of getting that
you,
piece.
yeah, you got that. But I just like you've made urns before with some of that wood.
Absolutely.
And it's like, if you got a tree that's attached to somebody and you cut it up on a mill, it's still there.
Yeah.
Just because the tree fell down on grandpa's property, you still got grandpa's tree. You
Wood
know?
lives
Or if you
forever.
sell the property, you still can have that tree, bring it with
Yep.
you, make a table out of it. It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, I've sawed up some trees where people have spent thousands just on blades to make sure that tree got cut because I was hitting nails and iron and all kinds of stuff in the tree because it was so old and large. I call them up, say another $150. Make another cut. That's another blade because you're going to hit more steel, but that's part of the game is to move on with the wood and let the customers
Right.
make their dream out of that wood, that piece of wood.
So going back to obviously we were in agreement. The most common question we're asked when it comes to sawmilling
Right.
is wavy cut or rough cut or something like that. And I'll listen to your thing too, but I usually say it's one of three things. Almost 99.9% of the time, it's one of three things. You're cutting with a dull blade, you're
Yep.
pushing too fast, or your blade tension's off.
Yep. Or
I
they
said
got dirt on their track wheels.
Yeah, that would do it. That's
They're
not that's super.
that's
Not as
pretty
common,
minimal. That's very minimal.
right? That's usually if you got a spot where
That's
something's
the last
happening.
question I
Get rid of 'em.
ask, but the
Yep,
first 3 you asked are right on the money, you
yep.
know?
That's what we got.
But then
And I
I always
remember,
hear, "I just put the blade on." But then talking to a lot of customers, "I just put the blade on." But 10 minutes later in the conversation, you may hear, "Well, I made 3 cuts with it."
right.
Okay,
A
time
lot can
out.
happen in 3
That's
cuts.
when I say time out right there. I have to call a timeout on the conversation. Say, "All right, now let's talk about them 3 cuts you just made with that brand new blade." And I'm gonna dissect it for you. I'm gonna ask you, "Did you debark the log?" "No." "Did you pressure wash the log?" "No." "Did you sweep it?" "Yeah, I knocked some of the dirt off. There was some dirt." "Okay. Now we know you've got a dull blade. So I'm gonna stop and say, "Look, let's stop right here. Let's take another blade and put on there and make another fresh cut and see if it's doing the same thing." 9 times out of 10, like Mike said, that would be it. A dull blade. Dull blades do crazy stuff. And a loose blade will do the same thing. You'll get a hump, you'll get ripples. You really got to know your blade to know that immediately, or know a mill,
Right.
know milling. Put it that way.
And tension. I know we got like a standard per mill of where to get,
Yep.
with what to tension the blade up. But we've had trouble before, working with a customer. I got it. I don't want to put names. He's a local guy here, great guy. But he was just stumped, and we were stumped. Like, what's going on? And then it ended up being his torque wrench was busted.
I went up there.
I know you did, and you know who I'm talking about.
Like,
Yep.
the torque wrench is broke.
All that for a broken torque wrench.
Yeah, we were beating our heads out on the wall.
But there's other ways to check
That's when I
the
said, I gotta
tension
see
without
this.
a torque wrench.
Right, there is. But
We call it the flutter test, So you tension it up, and you know when you're putting on a wrench about how much pressure. I mean, if
absolutely.
you're really struggling in, I'm like, okay, you're probably over tensioning.
Over tightening.
If you don't put any effort into it, it's going to be loose. You can flick the back side of that blade. It should have a little sing to it. You want to make sure it's not sitting there fluttering.
Absolutely.
I probably very seldom actually used a torque wrench when it came to tensioning up a blade.
I only do it in front of customers to show
At a
them that I
trade
know
show.
how to do it.
Right, because you got to do things right at a trade show.
Absolutely. But I never use a torque wrench at home on my mills,
Yeah.
ever. I just
Well,
feel
you
the
got one
blade.
built into your elbow, I think.
I do.
Yeah, yeah. You've been in spot on a few times I've seen you where you said that this is this and that's that, and you check it and you're actually right.
I know. I've
Yeah.
got enough practice on it, I think. That's where it comes with experience,
Yep.
which is always good. But yeah, it's a lot of times it's just your blade's dull, it's the torque, it's things like that. They're
Mhm.
simple, and they can be very frustrating to a new customer or a new sawyer. I mean, if I had a brand new sawmill and I made 3 cuts and it's starting going hay-wacky, I'm gonna start getting upset because I can put myself in that person's shoes, knowing what they're going through and knowing that they don't know what they're doing. It's not that you're dumb, or it's just a lack of experience.
Right.
And until you get that experience, you're not gonna know it.
Right.
It's gonna be, who do I call? I mean, you can call all these other sawmill companies. Try calling a Chinese sawmill company. See where you get with them. They're selling them dirt cheap these days. But when you need service on that mill
Or parts.
or parts or some technical information, you ain't gonna get it. You ain't gonna get it with a phone call talking to John or Mike. You're gonna be beating your head against the wall. And we have a lot of them customers sometimes call us for information.
Right.
I'm sure other companies may get it too, but they'll call us and say, we can't get nowheres with this. I say, you should have bought a Hud-son. But
They're
knowing
good
they
about
didn't,
helping them out.
trying to help the
Yeah, we
customer
try.
out. And that actually will gain the trust of that customer, that they will come to you for the knowledge. And then we can maybe upgrade them to a Hud-son. I always tell them, get rid of that, sell it for what you paid for or less, and buy a Hud-son. That's my best advice to them, because I know the Hud-son mill will last. We've got mills out there I take calls on all the time that are older than Mike has been
I
working there.
know. No, they're not that. I'm not that young.
Well, you've been there a long time.
I have been. Yeah, but like yeah.
The old
the
HGH2?
company started with the. Yeah, I'm older than that.
Yeah.
Yep. The company started with the Ross mill. That's
Right.
where they were selling the Ross mill out of New Hampshire, which we have one in the showroom now. So
Yeah,
that's pretty
their
neat.
museum.
Yeah, we got a museum. Man, maybe
I told you.
I am getting old. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we started with selling that, and then it was the mid '90s that we started um, manufacturing our own sawmill.
And I started in
Yep.
'97 there, I think. Or no,
No, oh
'07.
'07. You started
'07.
'07. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you started '07. So
So I seen some of the dinosaurs, but I'm still taking
yeah,
calls on
no,
them.
but I mean, it's still amazing
It's the
though. I mean,
same
we're
mill,
talking going on 30 years
right?
of Hudson sawmills, right?
And they're still out there being used
Yeah,
with the same parts that we made
originals.
30 years ago.
Yep.
They're still being
Yep,
used
a lot
today.
of them are.
And that's
Pretty neat.
what's good about Hudson. That mill's 30 years old. You can still buy the same parts. We've upgraded a few of them, made them better, and that's a good thing too. But they will
How many
still
hours? Do you
fit.
remember how many hours Larry Holden? Got almost starting to use names. Larry Holden's got on his H360. Our customer out
Oh
in
my God! What
St.
do you say?
Johnsville. I mean, he's got like
7,000 or 8,000 hours, was it?
something like
It
that.
was
He's
phenomenal.
got an extra motor on there since.
Yeah,
I mean, those motors last forever and he doesn't even wear it out.
yeah.
Can't even imagine the board foot he's got out of that.
He's
Yep, absolutely
really
amazing.
sawed a lot of lumber with that mill,
Yep,
and he goes all over. He's so proud of that mill.
right. I think
And
his son's into timber frames too. They make these timber frame homes.
yeah,
So he got two of them
yeah,
because he got the H360 for their main milling, and then they got, I want to say it's an Oscar 330, or maybe not the 330. They probably had the older one, the 230.
the 236. I
Yep.
think.
So 30-inch Oscar. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's a 36 Oscar they had, and they got the long track set up so they could do these like 25 footers with
Yeah,
it.
long timbers.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And
And
that's,
the processor just came in with what, 7,000 hours on it?
oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that was great.
it's amazing. I mean, it's only
Yep.
a few years old. He got 7,000 hours on it.
7,200. Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
what did you do? Run it 24/7? Just about, he says.
Yeah. Yeah. That thing was in good shape too.
It's in really good shape. I
amazing
mean, it's
shape.
worn well. I was impressed on how well it worn.
Yeah.
When you see a machine and you work with them every day, these machines leave, and I don't see them maybe unless I get a service call or it comes back to us. But this machine came back to us, a local guy, perfect. And I seen how many hours were on it. I'm like, you got that many hours? He's like, yeah, that hours meter's correct.
Right. Yeah. What year was that?
15.
2000. Was it?
Yeah.
15. He got that many hours on. All right. And he just bought a new one.
He just bought a new one.
Yes. Now he's got them both. I guess
He's
he's
got two of 'em.
his daughter's helping out with the
Yeah, his
business, so
daughter's
they're going to be
took
running
over.
two firewood processors.
Yep. But the steel on the deck was worn thin. I was feeling the welds or
Yeah.
worn right through on some
Remember
of the
that
welds.
Wolverine? The first, because we had the
Wolverine.
Wolverine with the winch style that pulls it up to cut wood. It was the first one that we built.
Yeah, first
Yeah,
one
he
on the
came
line.
back and he ended up upgrading to get the bigger Badger. But
Yep.
that one again, it was 1/4 inch thick steel. He'd worn thin.
He wore the plate right straight through.
Yep.
We
He
had to
had that
cut that
much
chunk
wood through
out and
there.
replace it.
Yep. We cut it out, replaced it, and yep. And that processor's still running today.
Yeah, it's still out there
Yep.
today cutting.
Yeah, I think that's I forget who purchased that.
This local guy.
Yeah, it was local, but they're still making firewood with it.
Yeah.
Still going. It's amazing.
Yeah. We got good tough equipment. That's one thing that's great about Hudson. I have to stand behind that. Not just because I work for him. It's a fact of the matter.
Right.
And there's a
So-
lot of good stories that go with it.
Yeah, there is. Well, speaking of stories, what do you think? What's you got stories? What's a common thing that people don't believe you on when you're talking to them?
Blade tension or tension in the wood. You have
Tension
to
in the wood.
convince them. You have to
Yeah, you
actually
gotta show
convince
'em.
them
Teach them how to cut a board and see
how
what
to-
the board does.
how to read that log.
Right.
And a lot of times the tension is caused just from the way you store your logs too. A lot of people don't realize it. But if you're storing a log flat on the ground, and you can prove this to yourself. Anybody can prove it. It's real simple. Just take a board, just a short board, and take it out in the morning and throw it on your lawn. And then watch that board at noon. And you're going to see that board is curled under. You're going to see the tension grow in that wood just in that short period of time. So now you've got a log that's sat there on the ground for 6 months, maybe 8, maybe a year. So that log has sucked in all that moisture on that bottom side of it. That hasn't dried out, but the top, where that sun's beating on it, is dried out. So that's making that curl up. It's like burning your skin. It tightens it right up. So that log's going like this. The bottom is wet and it's going to stretch. The top is tight and it's going to pull in. Think of it like that, and you'll always keep it straight in your head. So when you throw that log on the middle of the saw, all right, let's relieve the tension. Let's loosen the wet side first. Then we'll go to the dry side. Because what's going to happen when you cut the dry side, it's going to want to push your blade up. If you leave that tension on your wet side first, it's going to relieve that tension out of your wood. It may pull up some, but you're not as much. And that's true with about any tree that I've ever cut. I don't care if it's maple, ash, hemlock, spruce, pine. It'll grow tension in just by like that. They sit long enough, then they will dry. But I like to store logs up on logs.
You know
So
what
get
I think
two
one of the most
12-inch
common thing
logs
is
and
that I hear,
put them up.
maybe that people don't necessarily believe you or whatever. You know, you're at a trade show, and yes, the most common logs we cut are pine or spruce or hemlock. Then it's most available, most you're gonna get at shows. It's great building structural wood. That's what you use it for. But then they come in the show. How's this gonna do cutting hardwood? And I just gotta laugh
I do too.
because too. Believe it or not, it's easier to cut the hardwood than
It
it is to
is.
cut the softwood.
I
You
was
have
going to bring
less
that up when
tricks.
you were talking about
Yep,
that.
and
Yeah.
it's all in the density of the wood. Because like you get in a hardwood log, yeah, you might not cut it as fast, but you get a clean, straight, true cut, and the wood's doing less funny business on you.
Yep.
Yeah, then
Absolutely.
you go back and cut in a pine log, and you got knots every which direction, and you got a hump in there, and
You got some fuzz on the log, on the
right,
boards.
yep, yeah,
A lot of people don't understand why that's true. And if you think about it, I like the science of wood. I don't know if you probably know it too, but you know the
I
answer.
call it the wood density.
The wood density. Because hardwood will shear off better and cleaner. Softwood will bend. That's why they use
It's
softwood
flexing.
for structural.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep,
So there's your difference. If you use a little common sense and think
right.
about it, it all makes sense to you. And when I explain this to people over the phone, they're like, I never thought of that. And it clicks the bell,
Hmm.
clicks the knob, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but clicks it in their head that yes, you got to think about more than just pushing that board through to get it out. There's a lot of science in the saw and lumber, but most people don't even think about it and never will. Um, I guess I didn't get into the science of it until I became a real sawyer about 12 years old. But I did
Yeah.
start learning real young about that stuff.
Huh.
But anyways, there's like you say, the hardwood cuts easier than soft, and your blade will actually cut a little bit less lumber with hardwood. You'll get more board feet out of a softwood cutting than you will with. Excuse me. Shut my phone off. Than you will with the hardwood. The hardwood will dull your blade because it's more brittle and harder. You'll get a little more forgiveness with the softwood. For longevity of cutting, you'll get maybe 5 more boards, 10 more boards sometimes out of a softwood than you will with a hardwood.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
dirt is your biggest enemy.
Right.
Dirt on the log. If you get the dirt off, you're going to saw a third, if not 2/3 more with each blade.
All right.
That's the key, is keep the wood clean. So,
Yep, that definitely makes a huge difference. Yep, having a clean log versus a dirty log. It's amazing how quickly you'll dull a blade right out.
I've sawed in the logs 2 inches and hit
Yeah.
dirt, and the blade's dull. It's
Right.
starting to dive or pull up. I mean, it don't
Yeah.
take much. Once you knock the corners off them teeth,
Yeah.
it's over with. And it's not the whole sawtooth that cuts the wood. A lot of people think it is, but it's mainly the tip. The first part that hits that wood is what's doing the cut, and that's the tip. Once that tip gets dull, it's not going to
Yeah,
cut. It's
you,
going to
you
force
did
it.
a you did a helping YouTube video on that.
We did it at
The
the
sharpness
Woodsman
of a
Field
blaze.
Days.
Yeah, we did it right there.
I
Yep.
did the thing everybody told me not to with the thumb. How do you
Yeah.
tell if a blade is sharp?
Touch it.
The only way you're going to find out is to touch it.
Yep.
So I check my
So-
jackknife. That's how
Yeah.
a seamstress checks her scissors. I guess she's got to feel if it's sharp or not.
Yep. So
I got hounded a lot of times for saying touch the blade, put your thumb on it, feel that fingerprint drag over that blade. You'll know if it's sharp. A lot of people are like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
That when you run your thumb over that blade, you should be feeling it bite into your fingerprint. If it's just gliding over it, you know it's dull. The corners are gone. That blade should want to hog into your thumb. Don't make it hog in because then you will cut yourself. But Let it go over your fingerprint and let it bite in. You're gonna feel it.
Right.
And you can also see it if you got good eyes. You can see a shiny edge on the tip of your sawtooth. It's dull. It's rounded over. You don't want to see nothing shiny on a saw blade other than the flat part. That tip of that blue tooth is shiny. It's dull. It's worn off. It's rounded. Think of it like you polished it.
Yep. You just made me think of something else that I've.
You're thinking a lot today, Mike. I don't know if I can take this.
Sorry, it does happen occasionally. It was with the blades, the pitch in the wood.
Yeah.
You know, you can get that stuff on the blade built up so thick because you're not running a lube, that it starts acting like a dull blade.
Absolutely.
It gets in the gullet, and then you're creating heat on your guides. You know,
Your blade gets hot, it expands, you lose your
right?
tension, your band wheels get hot, they compress into your band wheel, you lose more tension,
Yep.
you're getting really wavy cuts now.
All right. So,
And you could have a sharp
so
blade.
the best time to harvest your logs is right in the heart of spring when they're full of water and pitch, right, John?
Negative, Houston.
If you can avoid it,
Yeah.
it's definitely helpful if you can avoid getting a log that was cut right in the heart of spring.
Winter cut is your best timber.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Ready
won't
to
have all that sap in the tree,
Saps
and
all down the ground.
yeah, but it'll be ready to put up sooner or anything else.
Your
like
softwood
that.
will keep much better if it's cut in the
Yep.
wintertime too. It doesn't mold or turn green.
Sure.
You get it cut and
Yep.
put
It's
it on
almost like
stickers.
it's preserved in the winter.
It does because all the nature takes the moisture out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you see people doing on YouTube that's wrong?
I don't watch a lot of YouTube, Mike. I work too much. But anyways, I
Oh.
do see it once in a while. Do I watch sawmilling on YouTube? Boy, that's a tough one. The biggest thing I see is going too fast.
Well, yeah.
That's what everybody pushes is how fast my saw can cut. I
Yeah.
don't care how fast your saw can cut. Is it cutting accurate? Because when you bring that lumber for me to plane and you cut it real fast, you can take it on your truck because I don't want to plane it. Because I'm going to work
Sure.
10 times harder pushing that through a planer when it's like that. And anybody that's ever done that knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. To me, what I see a lot of people doing on YouTube a lot is over dogging the log.
Well,
Like
that
they
too.
are taking that dog, they got hammers, they're hammering that thing in there, and I'm just thinking to myself, what? And I know I'm gonna get a phone call the next day saying I can't cut straight lumber. I'm like, you bent the tree. Yeah,
Or they
over
twisted
over
it.
dogging. Yes, you're twisting
Twisting
the
the
tree.
cant. Yeah.
Right. I mean, them dogs are designed to hold the
it.
log. That's all. You're just making sure it doesn't move from where it's resting.
Right.
It's the weight of the log, the shape of the log that's going to hold it in place once you get it.
As long as
down
it
on the
don't
track.
rock and bounce around on you, you're
Right.
good. Just sit still.
Yeah. just
You
let
see
it
a lot of
stay.
times when I saw, I dog it the first time. Once that flat side's down, the dogging's over with.
Right. All you need is backstops.
All I need is a dog at the last cut or last two cuts. Then after that, on my circle mill, it's a whole nother program. But
Yeah,
that's,
you don't want to send that over to your neighbors.
no, it's kick it over. Yeah, couple lots over. But
Yeah. So you cut with both.
yeah.
I mean, the safety of a band mill versus running the old Ireland mill's got to be a little bit different.
No, it's a big difference. A lot of people are afraid that that log is going to get away from them because a lot of people grew up hearing horror stories of sawmills. My grandmother was one. Well, she actually witnessed it. And she left my grandfather because my father and his brothers and my grandfather bought a sawmill.
Hmm.
And she said, if you buy that sawmill, I'm leaving. And back then it was the old Bell sawmill that you buy through Sears and Roebuck. They bought it as a kit. Just the iron came. And you had to buy the lumber and build the mill, actually. Build the wood structure and put the metal to it. And there was a huge fight in the family over that. She left them for 6 months, went back to Georgia because of the sawmill. My father's told us that story 100 times. And this is what we're doing now. He says, we're sawing lumber. And my mother hated a sawmill.
Yeah. Huh, that's
But it
funny.
was horse. She seen a guy get cut up in one. So that's what scared her. And those stories would pass down through generations. Great grandpa lost his leg in the sawmill, so Uncle Bob lost his hand to the buzz saw. But 99% of that and today, it's the same thing. It's like truckers. Back in the old days, sawmillers were like truckers are today. Everybody did it. You know, whether your pickup truck, big truck, whatever, everybody had a mill. Everybody was involved in that milling. But it was usually carelessness or negligence on the machine that they were working with that would cause the accidents. It wasn't because they were sawing lumber. It was the build up to that accident. Did he make that step when he shouldn't have? Should he thought before he did that move? And a lot of the guys that I know, several of them that got cut in half in my time, in my age, got cut in half with a sawmill, circle mill, is because they got hurrying and they didn't think. And then they just reacted and they stepped in front of the carriage. And you step in front of that carriage, you're full game. That carriage moves, it's going to send you right into that saw. So that's usually how those accidents would happen. I've only heard of a couple stories of the blades exploding, and those guys never got killed. And that was because they were over revving the sawmill with a mill blade that was cracked. Again, defective. They shouldn't have been doing it. And they probably didn't know any better because they were farmers. We bought the sawmill at the auction. We set it up. They didn't know the blade was cracked. They didn't know nothing about a sawmill.
Right.
Like somebody buying a band mill today, they don't know nothing about it.
Right.
It's our job to
Well, yeah,
educate
I
them.
know it is. And like even, the circle blades, yeah, they got a certain speed that blade's got a harmonic that it's supposed to run.
Exactly.
And it's actually that band blade
Same thing.
has a certain speed that runs, because you get a lot of guys, we had another guy like, well, I don't, it's new. I don't want to run up to full RPM. Well, that's the way that engine's designed to run.
He was worried about breaking his motor.
He's worried about breaking in the engine, and that's an old school practice.
It is. That's what I said as soon as you told me.
That's good, but if the way they're designed, you spin them up to full RPM. That's the way the engine's actually designed to run.
Absolutely,
these days.
to get the full torque.
Right, and you got that proper bleed speed going around, so you get the right amount of sawdust coming out for the
And
speed
the proper chip size for each tooth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all based on that.
And with most of our mills run that centrifugal clutch.
Yeah.
So if that clutch isn't properly spinning, you're going to be burning that clutch out too soon because you're not getting up the RPMs.
Yeah. Clutch get hot, start burning your belt.
Yeah.
One thing will lead to the other. It's a chain reaction.
Actually, that blade runs cooler at the right speed. If you're running that blade slow, it's actually going to get hotter.
Absolutely.
Which people are like, that doesn't make sense. What happens?
They're made that way for a reason.
Yeah.
So we understand it, but a lot of our customers don't. So we do pretty good at explaining it, I think, because people will listen to us.
Right. That's one thing that's nice with today is you can YouTube anything, but you have to have the knowledge to know which YouTube is correct.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of good advice.
There is
everything you can learn. You can go get this. I don't know. Your wife wants you to make something. You got to go on YouTube and figure out how to do it. But you gotta look at the whole thing first and be like, does this really make sense or not?
Yeah.
And if you're uncertain, give us a call.
Right.
On our website, we got all them videos, product tips and guides, give you a lot of pointers, a lot of different things to do.
Yeah, we try and do more. I was thinking of a couple more last night, actually. I couldn't remember now. Saved my life. I should have wrote them down.
Right.
Another video to do for training.
Yeah.
It would save us a lot.
Right. Well, you're not to change the subject too much, but to get away from the sawmills, your winch video, your skidding winch video, the winches that go behind the tractor and pull, basically turn your tractor into a log skidder for a lot less money. That training video, I don't even know how many hits you've had on that one. There's so many people that watched that, praised you for that, and your knowledge shared with them got them up and running, and it's a beneficial tool to have. And actually, now we even have a QR code sticker that we put on every winch that goes to that video.
Yeah.
So it's an educational video to help guys.
Never thought I'd be on a QR code sticker, Mike.
Yeah, you're like, what is a QR
Especially
code?
if you said that 20 years ago to me. I'm like, you're nuts. Now I scan it with my phone and see myself. Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. You can't even, what's that brand of cereal that has the little things that you give to the schools to get?
The box tops?
Right. It's a code now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you're no longer cutting them off and bringing them into the school.
You scan it?
Yeah, you got to scan it or do something like that.
Yeah. What did I get? Oh, that generator I bought. I just bought a brand new generator for the Detroit, the 100,000 watt generator. And I'm putting it in last night. And I said, well, let me go get the instructions just to check things and make sure they're right. I go over it, nice plastic, big piece of sheet of paper in there, instructions written on the paper. I go to pull it out, it's one sheet of paper. I flip it over, it's a QR code the size of the paper. I'm like, "What is this?" I was kinda irritated because I'm over at the mill and now I got no cell phone service. You know
Right.
how it is over there.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I had to go home and look it up and make sure that it was all there and do my checks, but
Huh.
it was a QR code. I was kinda devastated.
Yep. Yep.
Bringing
I
up
will say a lot of our going back to our customers and people that we get to talk with and meet and everything else. There's a lot of people that still live in like remote areas
that don't get that.
that don't have the cell service and
That's why I can relate to them, Mike,
right.
'cause I'm in the same
I
boat.
know. Yep, it's amazing to me. You know, you drive around, and I know I said I'd fly most places, but I
Yeah,
like driving. I've definitely
I
always been
love
a
driving.
wheelman, and just going in deep woods country, it's
Yeah.
God's country to see all these different places and all these different people that live in those
Unique
areas. That,
people that live there
right?
and take care of the land. They're the
Yeah.
land people.
Right.
They're the
Yeah.
people that make this country.
Yep. They are. Yeah, it's
And
definitely one thing I love about trees. I mean, I logged on my parents' property, so I'm taking trees off of there. I remember going there when I was a kid. I could, watch the ball field because we lived on the hill. I could watch the ball field down in the village. I could watch a game. Can't do that anymore.
no,
The trees
trees
have
are
all
all
grown
grown
up
up.
in my lifetime. It's just like, what? And I took trees out of there
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah, I've seen trees
Yep.
as saplings and they're now ready to harvest for timber. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at the pine and the woodline. I'm like, I remember when that was just a sapling.
Right.
I could have took it off in one swipe with an axe.
Yep.
Now it's 15,
Now it's
16
right.
inches on the stump.
Right.
That's amazing to
Yep.
me, really.
Right. And what great building material and everything else.
Yeah, I watched that tree grow and now I want to cut it and put it in my house, but I got no place else to put it.
Yeah.
That's my nostalgia with wood. I see it and I growing and I want to
Right.
take it home with me. Just one of those things. Well, you brought up winches. There's one thing I wanted to share. Anybody, I'm sure, maybe somebody's going to watch this that has our skid winch, but I ran into it myself, and I've ran into it with a couple of repairs at the shop. Is when you're backblading your skidding trail coming out of the woods, I always drop my winch and then I run the ruts down and push the mud
Sure.
all down, and
Sure.
that's great. And winch works great for that. But the thing behind that is when you do that, make sure you clean the mud out of the winch when you're done, because it'll get in there and you can bind up your clutches and your brakes. So just a pointer, another tip I was thinking of and I never put out, and I've ran into it myself and with customers now is, so if anybody's listening that has a skid winch and you backblade your trail, when you get done doing that, take your water hose and wash her out good underneath your back plate.
Right. It's good to clean out,
Everything.
even your sawmill.
Absolutely. Clean it every day.
Clean out your sawmill.
Yeah.
When you're shutting down, it's good to stop, clean out, get the sawdust, check the air filter.
Yes.
When you got a blade that's spinning only a 16th of a cut out of there, you're gonna have some sawdust.
Fine
That's gonna
dust.
be a fine dust that you need to get out.
Yeah.
Same thing with the firewood processors. Sometimes you go and like, hey, you might need to get that sawdust out of there. At some point that sawdust is coming back because the pile's so big, it's coming back toward the machine. Now it's getting in areas that it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know,
That one processor I went and looked at, talk about sawdust. They were standing down in a hole of sawdust, literally
yeah,
4 foot deep all the way around the machine.
right,
I'm like, if this ever caught on fire, there's no way you would ever save
right.
it.
I know. Yeah,
And I thought it was a safety hazard myself, being
right.
that much sawdust around the machine.
Yep.
But cleanliness is next to godliness. But
Right.
when you're in the woods, people don't look at it like that. But it's a
Yeah.
true statement.
No,
Even
that's
around the
true.
tree, when you're going to cut a tree down, get all the garbage out
Oh,
of
it's
the way.
safer. Yeah,
Absolutely,
it's
it's so
safer.
much
I mean, I've
safer.
been in the woods. I mean, you've cut
Anybody
a
that's
lot
ever
more than I
fell,
have, but I've been where I've I saw a tree and I'm like, you think you got it, but there's always that one that gives
that
you
one branch that
surprise.
you didn't see.
And if you didn't take the time to give yourself that exit path, you could be in trouble in a hurry. So if you
Absolutely.
didn't clean the area where you're working and you got branches and debris everywhere and you get your foot stuck, well, you're gonna have a bad day.
Yeah, it's usually, lack of attention to detail and hurrying up in the woods that gets you hurt.
All right.
You can hurry in the woods, but you got to hurry safely. And hurrying around a sawmill is a no-go because you can trip and fall so easy. And especially my big mill, as you've been there,
Mm-hmm.
you've seen it run. You could fall into anything with that, and it would not be a good outcome. With band mills, same way. You can fall into that and seriously get hurt or killed. strike your head on the corner, anything like that.
Right.
So keep your pathways clear is the main thing around the mill yards and stuff.
Yep. No, it makes a difference.
Yeah. There's a lot of little things that make milling so much easier and more enjoyable.
Right.
You know, I enjoy sawing lumber when you open up that log.
There is something about cutting wood. I'm
You-
telling you,
when
I
you
don't
get
know
that
what it is.
first cut.
Whether it's the sawmill, I mean,
It's the
or
smell.
firewood.
It's
I still heat with wood. I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely like doing firewood. It's like you almost have a personal relationship. That's just one tiny little piece of wood that you're gonna throw in the fire.
and then you put it in
A
there.
year
and you
later.
say it's gone now.
Like there it is. Yeah, I remember this one. It
I
fought.
do. I do that all
Yeah,
the time myself.
Yeah.
It's that one knot you throwed it on the truck 3 times because it rolled off the top of the load. That's the one you're gonna remember.
Yeah.
It's not that perfect piece of wood. It's that oddball piece of wood.
Right.
That's why those are special to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Actually, like I said, I got a problem. I was actually using that splitter last night. We don't even have that advertised
The
yet.
box
so-
splitter.
The box splitter.
I ain't took that
Yeah.
one home yet.
Yep.
I
I'll
used
let
it
you-
at the
it's
shop.
halfway to your house. It's at
Oh.
mine. So
I got a brand new splitter myself, Mike. I just bought.
you can try something else.
I know.
Testing.
All
So-
these years of splitting wood by hand, I got spoiled last year.
Yeah.
I went out and bought a brand new Hud-son splitter.
Yeah.
First splitter I've ever owned in my life. I was
Right.
split with a double bitted axe or go double, but I'm old enough now. I think I deserve the splitter. So Mike talked me into buying one.
Right. So. Well, yeah, I think we'll start wrapping this up a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, I
we've
think
had a
this was
nice little
obviously
chat.
it's the first one. We're trying to figure out how to do this, and we'll probably have different people come in, and
Right?
we still got to figure out that name.
Yeah. Anybody out there watching that's got a name, send us
Right.
send us an
Get
email
a
or
name
shoot us
for
a
this,
name. See what you think.
Cut it up with Hudson. Cut up. Hudson Wood Talk.
Hudson Chop Shop.
Chop Shop. Well, it sounds like we're a hack shop.
Yeah, I
don't
know you
about
don't want that
but-
one.
Yeah. Yep. So,
Hudson
Yeah.
Wood Connoisseurs.
all right. So, yep, definitely. But yeah. Well, anyway, we look forward to seeing you
Yeah.
guys again, and
Absolutely.
yep, check us out at Hudson, or we got our Facebook, Instagram. We're on X now.
You got
I
questions
think
on the
TikTok's
mills?
back. These, I don't even get into half of these things, but a lot of
I
people
don't
do, and
either,
it's pretty neat. That's where you learn a lot of stuff.
Like the guy was telling you
Yeah,
yesterday that told
so-
me about the story I was telling about the winches. He had it word for word.
Right.
He watched that video 100
Yeah.
times. He must
Yep.
have.
Oh, you remember Daryl Curtis?
Daryl, absolutely.
He
My best
stopped
friend.
me dead in my tracks down when I was at the shopping center at
What?
BJ's getting groceries. It was
Recently?
no, it's a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
He just kind of stopped and looked at me. He's a big guy.
Yeah, he is.
I know you. I'm like, okay.
What'd they do this time, right?
You're the guy at Hudson. I'm like, yeah, it's me. But he's got a he's got the old-
428.
No, I think he's got a 28.
It was the first 428 we put out.
Was it the first?
It was one of the
So then it
first
would have been the
ones.
328, or what do
Yeah.
you think it was a 4?
It was
It
the
was a
4.
28-inch
Yeah.
Hudson sawmill.
The biggest log
Right.
you could put
And
on there.
he had that massive log
The
on
28-inch oak,
Right.
18 feet long
Yep.
on the trailer.
there. Yep.
And he sent me the video.
Right. He's got something else of ours too. Did he buy? A
He's
firewood
got the
process?
chipper.
Oh, chipper.
I built him that firewood processor,
Yep.
that special one he wanted.
Right.
built.
Right. Yeah. You wanted a custom.
Custom circle
Yep.
saw, buzz saw.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yeah. That's great. Well, that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
we got these people that come in and it's like they're just like you and me,
Yeah.
and then you end up talking and you're like, oh yeah, we can do that, and that's where you get half your ideas
I've known
from.
Daryl since I was a kid.
Right.
He was,
Well,
my
didn't
oldest
you-
sister dated him.
Did you live out that way?
Yeah, I lived in Verona. I
Okay.
grew up in
Right.
Verona. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
There it
they had
is.
the butcher shop. His father had a butcher shop,
Yeah. Huh.
small farm.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Cool.
Daryl went into sheriff. He was a
kinda-
sheriff, or I don't know. I think he still is a sheriff. He works at the county building.
Right.
Hey, Daryl, if you're watching, howdy.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Daryl.
I know you'll see this sooner or later.
He's probably flying over.
He probably
Yeah,
is.
he did that before. Yep.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
gets
he
the
sent
old-
us pictures from the shop.
Yeah,
It's amazing how
LinkedIn.
much the whole property's grown over the years with their different buildings and everything else.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we did have that tragedy this
Oh
year.
God, don't
I know,
remind me.
I know it. I know it. Yep. Well, just praise God. It was after hours and nobody got hurt.
That's right. I mean,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
So we had a building collapse, but we got to wrap this up. Anyhow,
we
so
gotta go.
That's a
But
story
we
for
talked
another
about
day.
that.
Building collapse.
Yeah. So, but yeah, well, just to touch on it, we had an incredible winter here. That lake snow just stopped right over Hudson Forest Equipment and
pounded
didn't
us.
move. And it's not just us. It's that thin line. what, maybe 10 miles wide,
15 miles wide.
10, 15 miles wide from here to the lake. There's over 200 buildings that came down. Huge companies that have been around for years at Williams, the Olive Wire
All
Company.
wire in Camden.
Yep. Their fire
Fire
department came
department.
down, our
Town
recycling
buildings.
center, the highway department, and it was our shipping and receiving
A
building that
lot of
came
the
down.
old farm buildings went down
Right.
that were.
And we had guys everywhere shoveling.
We shoveled for 3 weeks. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
it
all
was
we did was shovel
insane.
snow,
Yep.
trying to keep the buildings.
Yep. And
And-
then that last one where, because you already had fresh another 3 foot again,
Another
and then
3
it
foot again.
rained
Yeah,
and ice. It was incredible. But
yeah.
praise God. And even outside of Hudson Forest Equipment, there's been very few injuries in the whole area from the whole thing.
Yeah.
Everybody was safe, was able to get out in time.
Yeah,
I mean, you saw the video of the fire department.
I know.
Yeah, I think that went national.
Yeah,
Yep, those guys were right there walking out of the building as it came down.
they were so
It was
lucky.
incredibly scary.
Yeah, I know a couple people that were shoveling their horse barn, and they went down when they were on the roof. It
Yeah.
actually killed their horses, but they didn't get hurt.
Right.
One with broken hip, but
Yep, that was definitely
at least they didn't die with the horses. I didn't hate to lose a horse. But
right.
better the horse than me or you, or, a human. But,
Yeah.
No, it was a horrible winter. Not horrible. It was a good winter, but
It was
good
great.
old fashioned winter.
Good
let's
old
put it that
fashioned
way.
winter. Yeah, we got a little spoiled there for a little
Snowbanks
bit.
as high as the telephone wires. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but
a
we
good
still
winter.
got snow. We're
Yeah,
we're gonna have snow into May.
I got snowbanks in my yard still 2 foot. I was
Yep.
like looking at them last night.
Yep,
I can't
no
even
doubt.
rake yet. Come on, just go.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you.